The hiring manager said, "We actually had an internal referral for this position." I smiled. "Oh, really? Who?" He looked down at his file. "A Lauren Mitchell. She said she knew you personally and that you were planning to leave the company anyway." Lauren Mitchell. My best friend of 11 years. The same Lauren who had thrown me a farewell party just 4 days earlier. The same Lauren who had hugged me at the door and whispered, "I'm so proud of you. You deserve everything that's coming to you." She had no idea how right she was. My name is not important. What matters is that I spent 7 years building a career in financial consulting in Manchester. Lauren and I met on the first day of university. We were assigned adjacent rooms in the same dormitory. She knocked on my door that first evening, holding a kettle and 2 mugs. And somehow, that was enough to begin 11 years of friendship. We graduated together, started our careers around the same time, attended each other's milestone birthdays, talked every single day, sometimes 3 times a day. Lauren was not just my best friend. She was the person I called when my father was diagnosed, the person who drove 4 hours to sit with me in a hospital waiting room, the person who knew every version of me that had ever existed, which is exactly why what she did was so surgically precise. Earlier this year, I was headhunted for a senior role at a competing firm in London. It was the opportunity I had spent 7 years working toward. Better title, significantly better salary, a team of 12 reporting to me. I told Lauren first, before my husband, before my mother. Lauren first. She screamed down the phone, told me it was destiny, told me I was born for this, spent 2 hours on a call with me, helping me prepare for the interview. Or so I believed. What she was actually doing was learning everything she needed to know about the role. Every detail I gave her, she was filing away. Not for me, for herself. My interview process took 3 weeks, 2 panel interviews, a technical assessment, a final presentation to the senior leadership team. Throughout all of it, Lauren was my sounding board. I rehearsed answers with her, sent her my presentation draft, told her the names of every interviewer, told her what questions they had asked. I trusted her completely. She used every single piece of that information. 3 days after my final interview, Lauren told me she was going through something, that she needed some space, that work had been stressful. I didn't question it. I gave her space. A week later, I received the call I had been waiting for. I didn't get the role. The hiring manager was apologetic, said it had been extremely close, said they had gone with someone who had a very similar profile, but with a stronger referral network. I was devastated, but I accepted it professionally. 2 days later, Lauren called. "I have the most amazing news," she said. "I just accepted a senior role in London." Can you believe it? I went completely cold. "Which firm?" I asked. She said the name. It was the same firm, the same role, the same position I had spent 3 weeks interviewing for. "How did you even apply?" I asked. She said, "Oh, I saw it on LinkedIn a few weeks ago. I almost didn't apply because I knew you were going for it. But then I thought, the more the merrier, right? The more the merrier." 11 years of friendship, reduced to the more the merrier. But the phone call with the hiring manager kept coming back to me. An internal referral. She said you were planning to leave anyway. Lauren hadn't just applied for my job. She had actively undermined my application while pretending to help me prepare. She had used my own interview answers, my own presentation structure, my own research, and she had told them I was already leaving, making me appear uncommitted before I had said a single word. This wasn't competition. This was sabotage, dressed in 11 years of borrowed trust. And then I remembered the farewell party. 4 days before the hiring manager's call, Lauren had organised a farewell party for me at my favourite restaurant. 14 people, balloons, a cake with my name on it, a card signed by everyone I worked with. Lauren had given a speech. She said, "This woman right here is the most talented, most deserving person I know. Wherever she goes next, they have no idea. How lucky they are. The room had cheered. I had cried. She had thrown me. A farewell party. For a job she had already taken. She had stood in front of everyone I cared about and performed grief over a loss she had engineered. That was the moment. Something shifted permanently. Inside me. Not anger. Not tears. Clarity. I was going to make sure. Lauren Mitchell understood one fundamental truth about the receipts she had left behind. They don't disappear just because you smile at the leaving party. Let me tell you what I didn't do. I didn't call her screaming. I didn't post about it. I didn't send a long message at 2 a.m. that I'd regret. Because here's something. I've learned about people who betray you with a smile. They are prepared for your anger. They have the response ready, the apology drafted, the justification rehearsed. What they are never prepared for is your silence, followed by your evidence, followed by consequences they never saw coming. I went back through 6 months of messages, Lauren asking me about the role, specific questions about salary structure, team size, reporting lines. Questions that, at the time, I thought were enthusiasm. They were research. I requested a follow-up call with the hiring manager. I told him I had some concerns about the process and asked if he could confirm what the internal referral had stated. He was careful, but careful enough to confirm the referral indicated you had already accepted another offer and were not genuinely available for the role. She had told them I wasn't available while coaching me on my interview answers. I thanked him. I told him I would be, following up in writing. Then I called a solicitor. I want to be clear about what happened next. I did not seek revenge. Out of bitterness. I sought accountability. Out of principle. Step 1. I documented everything. Every message where Lauren had asked about the role. Every voice note. Every detail I had shared with her. That appeared almost verbatim in questions the hiring manager later told me she had asked during her own interview. Step 2. I contacted the firm directly, not to get Lauren fired, but to formally notify them. That information shared in confidence during my interview process had been used by another candidate without my knowledge or consent. I included the messages. I included the timeline. I included the hiring manager's own words back to me, confirmed in writing after our follow-up call. Step 3. I reached out to 2 mutual colleagues who had attended the farewell party. Over coffee, I showed them the messages. Neither of them said anything for a long time. One of them finally said, "She told us you recommended her for the role. She said you two had discussed it and you wanted her to have it." I had recommended nothing. We had discussed nothing. Lauren had constructed an entire alternate version of events and distributed it to everyone who loved me. That was the part that removed any remaining doubt about what I needed to do next. Step 4. I wrote Lauren a message. Not angry, not emotional. 7 lines. Lauren, I know what you did. I have the messages. I have the hiring manager's confirmation. I have spoken to the firm. I wanted you to know, before you heard it from anyone else. I sent it at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. I know because I watched the 2 blue ticks appear, watched typing appear, disappear, appear again, disappear. She never replied. What happened over the following 3 weeks was not something I orchestrated. It was simply what happens when receipts surface. The firm conducted an internal review of Lauren's hiring process. 2 other candidates came forward with concerns about information that appeared to have been shared between applicants. Lauren's offer was withdrawn. Not because of me directly, because the firm found enough irregularities to question the integrity of the entire process. She called me 3 days after the offer was pulled. I answered. She said, "I need you to understand. I was going to tell you. I just didn't know how." I said nothing. "It wasn't personal," she said. "It was just an opportunity. 11 years. Just an opportunity. I said only this. I know. And I ended the call. There was nothing left to say. Every receipt had already spoken. The mutual colleagues, who heard what she had done, made their own decisions about the friendship. I didn't ask them to. I didn't need to. When people see who someone really is, they make their own choices. 3 months later, I was contacted by a different firm. A better role, better salary, a team that had heard about me through a genuine referral from a colleague who actually believed in my work. I started that job on a Monday morning. Lauren's LinkedIn still says open to opportunities. Some receipts take longer to settle than others. People ask me if I miss her. That's the question everyone asks. Not, are you okay? But do you miss her? Sometimes. I miss who I thought she was. I miss the person who knocked on my door with a kettle and 2 mugs. But that person, and the person who sat at my farewell party, knowing what she had done, were never the same person. I just didn't know it yet. Here is what I want you to take from this. The people closest to you have the most detailed map of everything you're building. Most of them use that map to help you get there. But some of them, very quietly, are studying it for a different reason. You cannot always tell the difference in advance. What you can do is keep your receipts, not out of paranoia, but out of precision. Because when someone uses your trust as a weapon, the receipts are the only thing that speak clearly enough for everyone to hear. And they always, always leave receipts. Before you go, I want to ask you something specific. When Lauren called me, after her offer was withdrawn, I said 2 words and hung up. Some people say I should have said more. Given her the chance to explain. Preserved 11 years with a longer conversation. Others say 2 words was still too generous. Tell me in the comments, what would you have said? In that phone call? And if you've ever had a best friend betray you in a way that used your own trust against you, drop your story below. I read every single one. Subscribe to Bleeding Receipts. New story every week. Because betrayal always leaves proof.